I'm going to tell you all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
Hello! Greetings, salutations all across the world. Welcome to another episode of Known Quantities. I'm your host, Daniel Miller. Just a few orders of business, and then we'll get right to it, everybody. First of all, thank you to Das Tapes for the lovely, lovely music. They actually have a new album coming out. You can check it out on their Instagram. I'm going to check it out myself because I feel like I've heard the same few tracks over and over again, but I'm not sick of them yet, so that's saying something. Bandcamp link is in the description below. Don't forget, this is a podcast available on iTunes and Spotify, so please rate, review. Spotify now has a review ability. If you do listen to the podcast, you can rate it. Give us 5 stars. Get a lollipop. Just let me know. Consider joining our Patreon. My Patreon, patreon.com/Daniel Miller. Any support is greatly appreciated and allows me to do more of this. We also have Super Chats. It's another great way to support the channel. So if you have a question or just want to say hello, that'll be open for you all. Because this is a public access channel, we have no paywalls, and we are here to give everything to everyone, no matter what. But if you can't afford it, great. Moderators, thank you so much for holding down the chat over here. And of course, to our producer extraordinaire, Arian Desario. Hello, everybody. Hello. There's Lou. There's UFO Jane, Spaghetti Lee. Even Josh and Artemis, who will be here soon, are also in there. Good multitaskers, those two. And then finally, we have a merch store, guys, with all kinds of really cool designs. Dolphin in the Tic Tac one is my personal favorite because that's clearly the answer. Dolphins are in Tic Tacs. All right, well, without further ado, let's get right to business, shall we? I'm excited about today's guests, plural. Today I have on Josh and Artemis of the Josh and Artemis Show. Now, formerly known as Primetime, they have since evolved. They created their channel together in September of 2021, so pretty recently. Our main goal with the channel, they say, is to focus on every angle of the UAP topic, giving everyone a chance to voice their own views and opinions. Josh and Artemis, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Thank you. I can't
Good.
see.
Let me see if I can. I believe I'm cutting off. There we go. Perfect.
Hello.
Right now, I was just seeing half of your faces for anyone who was only listening. In case you're wondering why. Spaghetti Lee, this is not taped. This is live. We're live.
Yeah,
anything could happen. In case you were wondering. Well, hey guys, thanks for coming on. I'm excited to chat with you all.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. We've spoken briefly, actually, very briefly. I think it was on Max's show a couple of weeks ago. The Hand Needs show, what Max did. But yeah, I'm thrilled to be here, and yeah, we're looking forward to speak to you today.
Yes, absolutely. Well, of course, absolutely. I know. On Max thing, I was like, I'm gonna have you on my show, and here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. I'm a man of my word. So I guess I'll start with the question I like starting with everybody is just especially with this topic, I feel like we all find it ourselves there in a different way. How did you guys come to be interested in this topic of UAP?
Ladies first.
For me, it was just kind of a natural evolution of what I was already into growing up, between like Star Trek with my dad and just all kinds of like space movies, Xena, Hercules, and then just
Xena, yes,
yeah, the classics. And then just always being into the topic and always into like the stars and like planets and things like that. And I never thought that we were alone. Like it was just naturally, I just assumed that there was probably more out there, and I was always curious about it. And then as I got older, just finding out or finding more people, like especially through Joe Rogan, was listening to his podcast and hearing like Bob Lazar's story and then doing more like research from there. The 2017 article, of course, was a huge news that came out, and that brought me a lot more, or that brought it to my attention a lot more, to start paying more attention to it. And then eventually stumbled onto UFO Twitter. And then I think UCR was like one of the first like UFO channels that I started watching regularly. And yeah,
And then we're a part of.
and then eventually I asked if I could, help them out in the backgrounds. And
Yeah.
worked with them, and that was like the best thing. Like this year especially, it's changed a lot in my life for me. So yeah, that's been a really cool experience. And yeah, so it was never based off of a specific experience that happened to me, but definitely just always interested. And I'm just kind of nerdy inside, so yeah.
Cool.
I love it. How about you, Josh?
Yeah.
Well, I've been into it for I don't even know how long now. Like, I first got into it when I was in primary school. So in the US, you'd call it grade school, I guess.
Right.
So I was probably about 8 or 9, and the main reason why I got into it was that there used to be like a library which used to come to our school, and I picked up this UFO book from this library. I was about 8 or 9, and it just had loads of pictures of UFOs in there. It wasn't like, they had some photos, but mainly drawings. And that kind of sparked my interest as to what these things are, and from there, I mean, I started to watch things like the X-Files when I was younger. There was a great show in the UK called Strange But True Encounters as well, which was really good. And from there, when I started to get into my teens, I started to research it a lot more seriously. But it was the days with like the dial-up internet and stuff, so it was really hard to find some information from with the internet connection those days. So yeah,
takes all day to download a picture.
Yeah. So I did try my best to research, but it was mainly books I'd read. The big one for me growing up was Chariots of the Gods, with like the ancient astronaut theory and stuff. That was like a big one for me, was that book. And from there, that's where I started to look into people like Stanton Friedman, Richard Dolan. And then I had a few years off UFOs. I moved to China for 4.5 years. I was a teacher over there, teaching like kids over there for 4 years. And it was when I came back to the UK, that's when I started to research it again. So I was about 25, 26. So for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been quite deep into it. But before that, it was there was school and I was traveling around, so it was on and off. But yeah, I've been into it for a while.
That's great. You guys both have, it sounds like. That's really cool. So when you first met each other, was that a thing where you're like, when do I tell them I'm into UFOs, or was it kind of something you guys knew about each other from the get-go?
Well, we kind of knew it straight away because we met because I put on my story
on Instagram.
I think it was UFO Jane. Yeah, she's in the chat now. I can see UFO
Jane.
Yeah. She was going live with Vinny from Disclosure Team. And I shared that to my story, and Artemis, I
replied to it saying how I was looking forward to the show.
Yeah, so we already knew we were both into UFOs anyway.
No
and it was just like, I didn't even know who, like, I don't know how we started following each other. I think you said you started following me or something, but we don't know. But it was so random. Like, I just saw it, and then I don't know why I was inclined to reply to his Insta story. I just was. And then, we just talked about UFOs, but we started flirting pretty early on.
Straight away, like we went back through the chats, like, and like within like the first few texts, I think we started.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Which isn't like me usually. I'm usually quite shy when it comes to this stuff, but but with Artemis, that it just took off really quickly. And
you knew.
But at the time, I was in the UK, and since then I've moved to Canada, so we're together in the same country.
Yeah.
So it's been
amazing.
A wild ride, really.
Yeah,
that's cool. Great. I didn't realize you guys had met via not necessarily UFO Twitter, but like the community already online.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool.
I know.
So I guess I was going to ask, but maybe this doesn't even really apply then. What motivated you then to go, I guess, public about it? That's one thing to be interested in it, but then to say, all right, I'm going to put my identity or face, I guess, online, and we're going to talk about it, and people are going to see it. I think that's a whole nother new level of I guess a commitment, so to speak. And so I was wondering what you thought, what caused that to happen.
Well, with me, I mean, I think you've always had your profile picture as your thing on Instagram, but
yeah,
but
yeah.
when I first started my account, this was back in July of last year. I was actually called UAP_UK, and it was just like my logo. That was like my my thing on Instagram for a while was just like the photo of like my logo, and then it was just after we started talking, I changed my profile picture to my actual face because I just thought, like, if people are going to take me more seriously, they'll want to see a face there, so you can trust that information a bit more. So I thought it was only right to kind of put my face out there, really. But.
Yeah. For me, it was different. I mean, I've always had a profile picture.
Yeah.
I have since Facebook, but anyway.
No, that's great. Kudos to you.
I mean, I don't know. Once I started researching, so I was following UCR, and they had put out on Discord, like it was like March or something. They asked if anybody wanted to volunteer their help, if they had any areas of, expertise like that they could, somehow contribute or whatever if they wanted to. And I was like really shy. I was like, oh no. But then I was like, that would be so cool. Like, cause I kept watching them and I just loved the show. I loved the guys. Like, I was like, they're so cool. And they just, they just get to talk about UFOs and interview really amazing people and have great conversations. And, my background's mostly like customer service, sales. And so I'm just more of a personable person. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to say I'll help them in the background. Like, I wasn't thinking to be on the show. I was just thinking maybe I can help them with like social media or like just whatever they need. And so I reached out to them in May. So it was a few months later, and I was like, do you guys still by any chance need any help? I was like, you guys asked us like a while ago on Discord, and then like Michael responded like right away, and he's like, yes, you know what, let's set up a time and blah blah blah. He's like, I recognize your name from the chats, and I was like, oh my god, so cool. Basically fangirl, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. They actually want my help, whatever. So we had the meeting, and I just started helping with the stuff in the background, and I was really shy about it, but then I had kept saying even to them and to other people in the UFO community, like, oh, we need more women on like on the front there. Like, we need more diverse opinions and different perspectives, and not only of different people, but men and women, we think differently, so we can really contribute diverse opinions, especially together. And then I don't know exactly how it went, but basically Michael was like, well, practice like what you're preaching, essentially. And he's like, why don't you just do it? And then I was like, oh my God, like, I didn't think I could. And, I do get nervous on camera and stuff, but I was
trust me, I'm an actor. Like, the nerves never go away, so it's okay. Being nervous is completely normal. Don't worry.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was like, I don't think I could do that. But then, they were really nice and welcoming. And so eventually I thought, you know what, why not? And then I did. And then I was talking to like Alien Girl 111 Amy, and I went on to her show and stuff, and like just kind of started this like group of women that, we can talk in like a safe way and like help build each other up. And so eventually I did get more confidence. And then once me and Josh met, I never thought I would have a YouTube channel though. Like, that wasn't in my plan, but it did get brought up a lot during the summer while I was working with UCR. And so I was like, oh no. And then I was like, well, I don't know, that could be fun. And then Josh kind of wanted to start a channel. And then once we were talking about it, we're like, well, if we're going to start a channel, or if he's going to, and then I will, and eventually, because we're dating, we might end up doing one together. Why don't we just do one together? And so that's just kind of how it played out. We were just like, why not? It just worked.
Yeah, combined forces. So, absolutely. It's a lot of work.
I mean, it was a wild ride, but I think everything happened the way it should.
For sure.
Or it was
absolutely
meant to. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what I guess from one, I personally, because I too, I mean, I just started this endeavor myself, and so I'm also just kind of, I guess, figuring out as I go along, as I'm sure you guys are too.
Yeah.
What has been your biggest challenges so far, and what I guess leads you in terms of finding certain guests or gives you inspiration to look for certain people or reach out to certain people? Because I found myself, it's definitely it's very hit or miss in terms of the um, brainstorming sessions that can work out for me on that front.
Yeah. Well, it's well, we're interested in so many different themes and topics, really, and that's why we wanted to. I don't know. We want to take a broad take on the topic, so we're interested in UFOs, of course, but we're also interested in the consciousness side of things, the mental health side of things, which we're going to have a bigger push on this year. We've got a guest on Friday, which is going to be mainly focused on that side of things. So we're going to try and incorporate that more into our shows as well. And yeah, but I think the biggest problem for us is just like the scheduling with guests and stuff, because of like the time difference and things. And sometimes we have the girls here as well. So it can be a bit difficult at times to organize dates with guests. I think that's the biggest problem we've had so far. Apart from that, I mean, we're just a new channel. I think we've only done 20 shows. I think.
No, including our new segment. 20.
So that's great. Hey, that's an accomplishment.
So we're still learning, and we did our first show. It was John Greenwald. Our first show, and we went back and watched that, and I was like, "Shit, that was like such a terrible." Like,
we were like, "Wow, we really need another interview with him."
Yeah, we need to get John.
Even just like our equipment set up, it was so. It was like very new. But I mean, as far as finding guests, I think because we have different areas we'd like to focus on, especially the mental health side, which we do both have a passion for. We honestly, sometimes we just look through UFO Twitter, Twitter, and look up different guests. We go on DuckDuckGo and search who's a ufologist in whatever region. So we've done that for
China.
That's
how we got Chuk on our show.
I found a whole list of different ufologists.
It's a nice find
around the world. So I'm just gonna start emailing them, seeing if they want to be on the show. That's how I found Philip Mantle, was through Chuck Fay. So I guess we're trying to diversify the guests and just bring more people into the topic and into the community, and just have that grow globally. So it is really fun to find guests from different countries and just kind of see their perspective on the topic and how the topic itself is perceived where they live. And just learn about how we're all dealing with disclosure in different ways. So
it's a global phenomenon, and I feel like sometimes you see people say, "Oh, why is this only in the US if it's a worldwide?"
I've said that plenty of times, that statement.
And then you can tell that just based on the research and of course just the guests you're now talking to, obviously that's not the case. So I'm glad to see you bringing in more of a kind of a global point of view, because I know since I'm American, I probably know mostly UK and American researchers in the community. It takes a little extra work to kind of reach out and find other people. That's really cool. And also, UFO Jane pointed out, mental health, it's so important, and that's such a, I think, underserved aspect of, I think, just in general in life, but also I think within this community too, because it's a thing. It's a thing here, and it's a thing everywhere. And I think there's a lot of taboo sometimes about talking about it. I feel like in decades past, that hopefully now that's changing.
For sure.
I think it's definitely evolved. Even like in workplaces and things like that, there's a lot more focus on your mental health and work-life balance and things like that. So there has been so much evolution, like in the last, let's say, 10 years, between the stigma having anxiety or depression and not being able to talk about it, or postpartum depression, for women, and or having, you know, psychological effects from having an experience, so many different things that affect your mental health on top of, you know, the society, earning money, you supporting yourself, your family, and just your well-being. So
Right.
these are all huge things that impact your daily life, and it's all, of course, intertwined with your mental health and how you're doing. And so naturally, at least for me, it's such a passion because it impacts who you are, and how you're able to function on a daily basis. And so we need to talk about it more, and um you know, have people feel like they're not alone in how they feel about any of these things. And it's really cool kind of linking that mental health aspect with the UFO topic, because
Mm.
there are a lot of experiencers who have, you know, um like trauma, or just it, it was such a significant event to them that it, you know, changed their lives and their perception of life. So that affects you mentally as well. So it's just being able to talk about that more openly. And even if I've never had an experience and I can't quite understand it, I definitely want to have that platform for somebody else to be able to share that, and then I can learn something from them as well. And um, yeah, we can open up the topic for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. I mean, yeah, with experiencers too. Yeah, it's. We were just talking about this before the show. It's hard to. And I remember I was talking about it with previous guest. You really have to lead with compassion on something like that, because I know a lot of people perhaps are more skeptical, especially those I think who maybe aren't much aware of the topic in the first place, having just going straight to hearing about abduction experiences or these traumatic events or whatever, any other experiences, I think can lead to scorn and to lead to dismissive and laughing and things. But if you just take in what they're saying, I know some are positive, but some are negative. I mean, if you just imagine experiencing something like that, that's absolutely traumatic. That's like a
Scary.
kidnapping. Right, right. So I think it's really important to lead with the human side, you know, and you know, when we're talking about, you know, like, you know, it's a different conversation than yesterday, for example. And I didn't get to finish yesterday's episode, but I know there was a bit of controversy, I guess, on Twitter on some people who were, I guess, upset with either the questions that were asked to John Ramirez or the way they were asked. But, you know, I think it's one thing if we're going to talk about it from a mental health perspective, but if we're talking about it in a conversation that is where we're trying to get at the truth and to get at details and to hold things up in a way where we can discuss it, I think also it's tough. Those questions are important, right?
Of course.
And I think those questions don't have to be, just because someone is asking questions doesn't mean that they are attacking that person or are dismissing that person. But these are questions that, you know, if we're going to talk about it in the public sphere, will be asked.
100%. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it before the show, and I watched the show last night with John Ramirez. Sorry, and me personally, I didn't think there was anything wrong with the questions at all. Like you've just said there, I mean, John Ramirez is a grown man for a start. You know, he's put himself out here. He's put himself onto these platforms. You know, he should expect to be getting asked these tough questions. That should be the baseline for us all, in my opinion. When these guests come on, we need to be asking these tough questions because, you know, we need to start to get some answers from these people at times. And we're not going to move this conversation forward unless we start to ask the questions. So, you know, and I think another point as well, which we brought up before the show, was the signal. I saw that Rava's it wasn't in sync with the rest of the show. So when he was trying to talk, it was cutting off John, but that wasn't because he was trying to, it's because of the signal as well. So people need to bear that in mind as well, that these connections also
aren't little input lag.
You could tell that his camera was a bit choppy.
Yeah, it was choppy as well.
Usually he's like full HD. So
yeah,
like everybody always comments on like Rather's crystal clear camera. So I mean, I think we also need to remember that like things happen. And I think he was being respectful and just probing a little more and questioning things and trying to understand from his point of view, which is not an experiencer side. So I think this is like what we say is like, you don't have to agree with what a person is saying entirely, but you do have to be respectful. And I think that was shown in that interview. Like, at least from my perspective, I agree that he was doing it in a respectful way. And it didn't seem like John Ramirez was,
He wasn't that annoyed, in my opinion. He wasn't that annoyed
or offended. And I think he would be the type of person to probably say he was.
Yeah.
If Rather was out of line, I can sense that John would probably say something and hold his own, just like he did throughout the whole interview, answering the questions. So, I mean, and it seemed like he's going to come back. So I think we should just relax a little. It seems everybody is on the edge lately. I mean, even like Twitter drama, it's just like, oh, come on, people, please.
Yeah.
All take a deep breath and maybe practice some meditation or something, or
right. Yeah, it's tough, I think, because I understand, I guess, that if you are an experiencer and there are doubts being put out there, maybe it can feel like a personal attack, perhaps. But at the same time, it's of my opinion, and maybe you guys will agree, that if these questions are being asked, that seems like a very good sign for experiencers in this topic, because before it was just, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's like the point I wanted to make before as well, that UCR, like a huge show for the UFO world, really. They're giving people like John Ramirez a platform to come on and talk about their experiences. So that shows that they're interested in that side of the topic and they want to learn more about it. So what's wrong with asking questions? Like, I don't understand the argument, really, but that's just me.
Yeah. I mean,
even if John was offended or upset, then we can, like, it could be discussed in a respectful way and worked out. I mean, we don't have to block people instantly and start feuds over things when, one simple conversation can put it to rest, and we can move on and, focus on the goal that everybody here has, which is finding out like the truth of this phenomenon.
Of course. And I think it's important to point out as well, I mean, Lou Elizondo has brought this up a few times in shows that he's done, that he wants people to be asking these really tough questions to these people, because that's how we move it forward. So, I get that some people might take things personally at times, but try not to, because at the end of the day, nobody knows the answers. Nobody knows what's going on. Really, we're all in the same boat with all of this. So let's just be respectful and also appreciate that we're pretty, this phenomenon, that's what's in control of the topic. It's not us. We're just trying to find out the answers. So we need to remember that we're all on the same side with this, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We're all just like people in a dark cave with like a little lantern trying to like figure out what is this cave.
We're trying to discover it.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I agree with all of that. And hopefully, I have not spoken with John, so I haven't spoken with Lou about it either. So hopefully if he was upset, I'm sure they can communicate like adults, and I'm sure they'll move on.
I'm sure they worked it out. But, I'm sure that, behind the scenes, once the show ended, I'm sure they worked it out. So it's fine.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's all that I think somebody else said it. I think like other people were more upset about it than the actual people involved in this. So I think just gives a bit of perspective as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it's I guess I'm repeating myself a little bit, but it is one thing. And if you hear slurps, sorry, my dog is drinking water in the background. But it's not. It definitely becomes tough territory when if you're being asked questions, if it starts to feel like a personal attack, then it definitely, I feel like it seems like a sign that maybe to step back or take a break or breathe, because we are all just trying to, these are all ideas, right? And I understand for personal experiences, it can be personal, but there also has been understanding that people can't take just things at face value. They're going to want information and details, and that's a good thing. So I guess I'm just repeating myself at this point, but I just want to reiterate, that questions are a good thing, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a personal attack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up Elizondo earlier. I kind of wanted to go over just super briefly. He was just recently on Coast to Coast, and he talked about quite a few things about the year ahead. And I was just curious, I guess, what you guys thought about what he had to say, or what you also may think coming in the year ahead. I was particularly, and it's on Coast to Coast. I believe UFO Joe also made a
yeah, he did a big thread about it.
Thread.
Yeah.
Big old thread about it, kind of transcribing everything, so that can save some time. And he seemed pretty optimistic about what's going on. And I guess before we go into what he said, maybe we should address the elephant in the room, that not everyone, there are some people who the second you say his name or say Lou said this, they said that, there's some eye rolling, or there's some attack. There's some people upset about just bringing his name up. What is your thoughts about Lou Elizondo?
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because it's similar to John Ramirez for me, because it's again that thing with like big claims, but let's back it up with a little bit of evidence, please, or maybe just give us some more information a little bit to go on, because I thought we were kind of done with the days where someone would come out with a big claim and not back those claims. So that's what we were dealing with before that New York Times article came out, was like decades of that. So like I think now, I do understand Lou, and it's a hard one to answer for me. It's a hard one to answer for me because I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because there's still so much stuff what Lou Elizondo said which hasn't been confirmed. So until I get confirmation, I'm going to be on the fence with most people in this topic. I'm kind of like an open-minded skeptic, really, when it comes to this stuff. I don't really have an opinion on what I've got theories, but I don't have like an opinion where I put my hat on that and say this is what it is. So I guess it's just a waiting game. But the things what Lou Elizondo said on like the interview with George Knapp were great for me. He's come out and said that he can see more nations being involved with this, which is something which I've been really hoping for in terms of the UK.
Absolutely.
Something which has surprised me over the years, how the UK haven't really jumped on the coattails of like the US to get involved with this, because that's something which we would usually do straight away. So to see that being talked about more in the UK and other nations is going to be really important. He also mentioned something about having sociology doctors or someone with a PhD in that field involved with this topic, which I also think is a great thing idea. Because I think post-disclosure, we need to start thinking about that a bit more. I think we need to start thinking about what happens to the world post that day, because there's going to be a lot of challenges for people. How are we going to view each other? How is society going to react? What's going to happen to the markets? What's going to happen to people's health? And there's millions of people around the world who have had these experiences. Some people who have had the abduction experience. Are these things going to get talked about a lot more? So there's a lot of questions, but I think the fact that he's mentioned that he's getting those sort of people involved with this conversation is a positive move for me, for sure.
How about you, Artemis?
I mean, I'm on the fence with him as well. It's just I don't think I can fully believe somebody. I don't know. They're big claims, and like they're not always backed up, so it is hard. But it's more like I have that wanting to believe what he's what he says he's trying to do, and I don't discredit everything that he's already done, and but I'm not gonna follow blindly, and it's kind of just that I'll sit back and watch like what he does and see.
That's how I see it as well, for sure.
Yeah, and so But I mean, he seems like he's trying to do the right thing, and he's pushing for pushing things in the right direction. And I know that he is doing a lot of more work this year in the UK, and
Mhm.
we'll be hearing more of that, or in Italy, San Marino. I've heard that. So, I mean, that could be what he was also referencing in the interview as well. And with the global, what was it, like global? Um, I forget how it was said in the transcript from.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
It was like basically just different countries like
Involved.
aligning and getting involved,
Right, engaging with it.
Yeah. So, and I'm thinking that that's maybe in those, like in that direction, where from like the UK, maybe Italy, or the like Europe in general. I don't know. So that could be really exciting, and hopefully Canada also gets involved.
Yeah.
So I do think I am pretty optimistic about this year. I do think that the conversation's heading in the right direction. We have that office. Let's see what happens with that. It's only January, and I
Right.
think we're starting on a good foot. And I think this is a turning point from, in the past where we've had signs that, we might be getting disclosure, and then it kind of just falls back into, a little hole and just dies. I don't think we're in that time anymore because of our advancement in technology and science. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it heads. And like Lou said in the interview, you do have to be patient, and we do have to remember that even though we want all the answers right now, if it's not going to happen, then you just have to be patient, or you will just keep getting disappointed. So
Okay.
I think just do what we're all doing, and be kind to each other and respectful, and get that conversation out there, and just start talking to your neighbors, your friends, your family. Just, the more that it becomes in the mainstream and through the government, even if not everybody agrees with all of that, that's going to help the general discussion, and that's going to help for people who literally would never think about this topic. They're going to see that from officials and be like, oh, okay, maybe I should read into this a little more, or maybe
Right.
this is a little more credible, or whatever they need to get their ideas going, but or their thoughts going. But we need that as well. So there's a whole umbrella under this topic, and we should respect every angle of it.
Yeah, well said. I agree. I think the creation of this new congressionally mandated office, whatever it's going to be, hopefully we'll start some more conversations just amongst the public, and then amongst academia, or maybe even in the private sector. My hope, because I don't know what this program will hold for us in terms of more information, right? Because anything they deem classified, we're not really gonna know about. So for all we know, this is kind of where the train stops here for now. It's kind of a big waiting game. It's slow going.
That's my fear of this new office, because it's great that we're getting 2 new offices effectively, and we're going to be having more chances to talk about this. But at the end of the day, if the data is still going to be kept behind the scenes, then what's really changed? It's still
Right.
in the same position as it was before. So, my bigger hope is people like UAPX and the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
I think those are the people to look out for, as UAPX and the work that they've done. I think that's what I'm kind of pinning my hopes on, is more not the government side of things, but people like that who are doing this great work outside of that scope. I think those are the people to take. Those are the people to keep an eye on for this year, for sure, in my opinion.
People
Yeah,
are calling
Zavi loves.
backdrop.
Oh yeah, it's crap.
Dude, I'm
like, we know. We
Yeah.
need like a green screen.
Yeah, it's crap. Yeah.
It's so true.
I hear you. My problems too, man. I had like an office over there I was working on, but then it turns out the internet there is so bad I can't even really deal with this. So until I'm just sending secret messages through these pictures, guys. You can figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, real quick back, I agree with addressing on Elizondo thing for a moment. I do think, he's definitely been instrumental in a lot of this. And, I guess when he resigned and you see his letter of resignation and you look at what exists now, clearly he was right. I guess in that terms, the question that keeps coming back to me is he says that the evidence he's seen makes it no question that there is something to this.
Yeah.
And the question then comes down to, it all comes down to the classified things, the things that we don't know about. What was in the classified briefings? What is this evidence? Is this evidence truly something that changes the game and changes the conversation? Or is this just something that maybe some people be like, that's convincing, and other people are going to say, no, that's this instantly, right? So it's hard to tell. And until we can see it, it's tough to go there all the way. And I think that's the way it should be. I think no one should be going there all the way unless they're provided with something convincing enough evidence to do so. So it's tough. And I can understand too. Obviously the things he's seen are probably classified, but it puts him in a tough position for sure, because he's saying these things, but he doesn't really have the ammunition behind it to get the public to just go along, right? Yeah. So it's a tough. That's where this whole topic lives, isn't it? It's taking in.
It's always just there. It's just out of reach the whole time, and that's the problem. Like, you brought it up there about Lou Elizondo and stuff, and you hit it perfectly for me. Like, that's exactly how I feel about it. Is like, I need a bit more to completely go onto that side of things. But I'm, my belief is that Lou is a genuine person, and the stuff he's saying is probably going to turn out to be true, but I don't know 100%. So until I get that confirmation, then I'm not going to make that giant leap, if that makes sense. But
of course,
yeah.
I mean, what we're talking about would be, if true, the probably the biggest discovery of mankind, right? Of our humanity. So kind of makes you think, well, of course it's going to take a lot to get everyone on board, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. For sure.
So how do you? I had a conversation with someone a bit ago. I was bringing up the recent Vice article that was about Gary Nolan, who's the Stanford scientist, very noted, notable, respected man. His lab is named after him, and apparently in this article, which was also about analyzing the potential metamaterials from UFOs, stuff really goes there. He mentions offhandedly that the CIA paid him a visit along with some aerospace companies and wanted him to analyze the blood samples of people who allegedly had close encounters with UAPs. Yeah. So like, what do we do with that? So I guess it's a perfect example. This is a single example of, I feel like, something that keeps coming up in this field as we're just trying to glom on to any piece of information that either comes from an otherwise, very sober, professional, respected person. And I guess, what is my question? Like, what I got accused of believing that when I shared it. And I feel like this is an issue that comes along a lot, where I feel like to really operate in this field from a level of standards of evidence, you have to be able to share things and kind of just sit in that gray area of unknown, where you're not sold on something, but you're also not just completely negating it because it sounds crazy. Because all of this is crazy. But he's saying it seriously. So how can one dismiss that? So how do you guys operate in this world where there's so much lack of conclusive anything, I guess? How do you guys do it?
It's lots of alcohol and weed. That's pretty much how we do stuff. But
smart man.
Yeah, but it's hard because like you've just said there, I mean, I've done this before in the past, where I've shared something on Instagram or Twitter, and I don't necessarily share that opinion or view, but I want to share it because I want to put every part of this topic out there, every angle or like opinion. And you're right. If like you do post something what someone doesn't agree with, you get jumped on, accused that you believe in this weird theory or, theory which isn't really accepted by most people on UFO Twitter. We should be able to talk about it. Like, like,
I mean, sometimes it's just about putting it out there and seeing what other people think about it.
yeah,
And starting those
Right.
conversations in like the threads, like, what do you think this is? Or what do you make of this? And it's not necessarily that you believe or don't believe in the context of that article, but it's getting those conversations started and meeting and engaging with different people.
yeah, it's similar to what I do on YouTube. So when I'm on YouTube, I'll like stuff which I like, but I'll also like stuff just to save it to watch it for later. I don't necessarily agree with that opinion or like the clip or something, but I'll just.
There is a watch later button.
Is that
just
whatever.
saying?
Didn't know that.
You know, I didn't know that either. I do the exact same thing, Josh. So we both learned something today.
But no, so it's I
funny.
think people just read too much into stuff, and on Twitter especially, it's incredibly difficult for people to communicate on Twitter because you can only say so much in a certain small
Character
like
space.
box of text, and
Absolutely.
things get taken out of context, and it's just a mess, especially with this topic when everyone's. I think the problem is, and it's also a great thing, is that people are so passionate about this topic that they're going to defend themselves. They're going to defend what theory they think stacks up against the rest. So,
whenever they're gravitating towards.
Yeah, so really. I think people are just really passionate as well, which we've got to bear in mind too. But I think, but I don't know the answer, Dan, if I'm honest. But we've just got to, I don't know, just be more mindful and just remember that we're all trying to get to the same point in this topic. We're all, at this point, we're all on UFO Twitter trying to get through this minefield of information and trying to piece things together. And, so we should all be supportive of that. And, if someone doesn't share your opinion or view, you shouldn't. Joey, let's get some stuff on the wall.
Spaghetti Lee send a $5 donation. Thank you, Spaghetti Lee, saying let's donate to the Josh and Artemis Home Decor Fund. All right, pass the hat.
That's funny.
Yeah, but no, I've got the chain of thought now. Oh no, I've got it back. Okay, so what I was saying was basically let's just be respectful, and just appreciate that we're all coming into this at different stages as well. So you've got people who've been into this for a long time. You've got people who are just coming into UFO Twitter now. So we shouldn't be putting out someone's fire or passion in this topic. We should be encouraging that for sure for me. Sure. So let's not cancel people. That's just
no, but it is okay to question
and question
in a respectful way because we're all learning. And like we've said like hundreds of times, no one has the definitive answers to any of this. So the more that we can learn and understand from each other, especially if, you're talking to somebody who has total different points of view on the subject, then all you're doing is building that knowledge base for yourself. And then you can just have a more, a better idea of what you're thinking of and what you want to focus on as a researcher or as a podcaster or as just somebody in the community who wants to know. So I think we have to just be mindful of all of that and just be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Just be nice to each other. That's the bottom line.
It's a good rule, right?
We're all just here. Not say that, but like, come on, people. Basic.
We're all just here trying to figure it out. I mean, Jay Durrani, I know Aaron just brought this up. Jay Durrani, I think, put it perfectly. The only conclusion, no one knows anything with any certainty. And that's true. Otherwise, we wouldn't all be here. And there's no need to gatekeep, especially when no one really knows anything. Like you said, perhaps people somewhere in the either military industrial complex or within intelligence may know a little more than we do, but also maybe not. Like no one knows anything. But at the same time, I feel that especially in these last 4 or 5 years now since the 2017 article, this also isn't in the same camp as any other like conspiracy theory, I should say. I can't think of anything right now, but this has legs. This has a story. This has always had a massive collection of evidence, but now there's actual even, there's political and congressional and now academic movement. So I feel that, especially because of right now, that if these people are taking it seriously, there's no reason why. There's nothing shameful about then also the people, public, just people that are curious like you and me taking it seriously. And if someone happens to think something differently than you, there's no reason to think, hey, I'm the right one, you're the wrong one, shut up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like the problem, you know, it's people trying to be first, or people trying to be the one who knows all the answers. And that's kind of like a huge red flag for me when someone comes on UFO Twitter and says, I know all the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have all these ideas and no one knows about.
It's just like a red flag straight away for me.
It's like, how?
Yeah.
Please share that knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, if
Right.
like you know, then just tell us what you guys know. I mean, if like you're not part of the government, or you don't have like an NDA to adhere to, then why aren't you saying the information? You know, so
yeah.
Yes, I had a skeptic that I was speaking with, and we were having a long back and forth just privately. And but when I asked them, okay, well, what do you think? Their answers were just as vague as the people he was criticizing. So I really think that, or she, I don't know, it was an anonymous person. So I think it's important to remember that, the confidence in which you think something is true has nothing to do with the actual truth.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, sometimes the more confident someone is in this topic, I'd say, yeah, like you said, the less likely I am probably to take them seriously, because that's an ego thing. That's not nothing to do with the topic itself.
Yeah, and I think we've got to remember as well that my opinions change daily with what's
totally absolutely.
So, like I could say one day that, you know, I think it's this, and the next day I'll say it's that, and I'll get abuse because, oh yeah, but how come you said, you know, this like a few days ago, but it's this, and it, you know, we're all trying to figure out the answers, you know, so let's just be kind to each other. That's all it is really for me. Yeah.
Yeah. When we talk about UFOs, it's like enjoy it a little.
It's fun.
And
it's supposed to be fun.
Take it seriously. Don't take ourselves seriously. That's what Lou said on our show, and it was great.
Yeah. It's supposed to
take
be fun.
Seriously, but don't take yourself seriously, and have fun doing it. And you know,
Amen.
you get to meet really cool people along the way and learn something. So
totally.
Just keep it simple, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is fun. It is a genuine. I remember when I first realized that there was actually something to this, and it is a level of, it's like a genuine mystery that I feel like doesn't exist much in the world, where it's just where what the potential ramifications could be. It's fun to fantasize about it. It's fun to think of all the possible outcomes, whether it all be prosaic or all be, I don't know, you know, seventh dimension protrusions into our third dimensional world, whatever, like, you know, things you can read online. So it's fun to think about these things, and that's what theoretical physicists do and scientists do, right? When they're trying to figure out what dark matter is, what these fast radio bursts hitting our planet are, you know, no one, this is the kind of curiosity that thrives in science. And I think we should all just stay curious. I mean,
yeah.
But since we're there, I guess, do you guys, you said your opinion changes every day.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I guess mine does too. But do you have any speculation as to just what the heck is going on here?
I kind of think it's all of the above. Like, I don't think it's limited to just one thing. I think it could be, well, I mean, if it could be aliens or tech, like off-world tech, then we could have also back engineered that tech. So it could also be us,
right?
Therefore, and in addition to that, if people, there's, you know, so many people who experience like paranormal activity, and can that be related as well to it? And in some way, if there are portals in different dimensions in order to aid with like space travel, could that be possible that we do have interdimensional beings and all of that? I mean, I certainly don't have that answer, so I'm open to it, but I don't think it's just one thing, and I don't think it's just one straight answer. Like, oh, this is what it is, and it's future us, or it's just back engineered technology that we've evolved, or whatever. I think it's a combination of it all, but I'd love to find out.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the same answer as me, Dan, if I'm honest, because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well said.
But if I was to put my finger on one thing, I would say keep an eye on what the Navy are doing, because there's a lot of secrecy. I think the Navy, I think John Ramirez actually, he highlighted this. He tried to get read into something when he was in the CIA in the Navy from like the Navy, and they basically just said no, you're not going to do that. So I think the Navy's one to keep an eye on. So I mean the ocean, that's kind of like the interesting one for me.
Yeah.
USOs.
Yeah, and I think it also ties in. I mean, the Salvatore Pi, the patents which he brought out a couple of years ago. I mean, I think they were from a few years ago, but they got released a couple of years ago into like the mainstream news. That's also something to keep an eye on. I mean, I think he's on Kurt Jamungel's podcast next.
He
month.
Will be, in like February. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one, because that's something which has always intrigued me, was those patents. They haven't been conclusively proven that they worked or don't work, or what kind of scale those patents were. Because I've read some stuff that they're actually for really small craft, like really small craft, but and not to scale as something like the Tic Tac would be.
Right.
But if people like him are working on that type of propulsion system, then it's not out the realms of possibility to me that we've already kind of got that somewhere. So I think that's another thing to keep an eye on as well. Is that, and we've seen it recently with all this drone activity around Sweden and other nations as well. And I think Lou Elizondo highlighted that again on that George Knapp interview as well, which he did a couple of days ago. I think he mentioned about drones and how they're going to play a big part within like the army and stuff within the next few years. So I think that's going to be an issue with misidentification with UAP and stuff as well, or whether these journalists have been told to say that they're drones when they're actually not drones. That's another thing. So it's going to be an interesting year. But if I was to put my finger on one thing, it would probably be the oceans is to keep an eye on.
Definitely. And just pay more attention to what's happening on our planet, for sure.
There seems to be a lot of attention towards the oceans for me, like within like the Navy.
Which makes sense. How much of the ocean have we actually explored? Not much of it. So there's so much room for possibility as to what's under the water.
Yeah. I forgot who it was, but someone had mentioned how these, our nuclear submarines are something that I think rarely the DoD is ever going to want to talk about, but I forgot where. So, this could all be bogus. So until I remember who said this, but how these submarines are picking up these weird sonar tracks that are moving in ways that we certainly don't have the capabilities of, and very deep. And I know Tim McMillan wrote a great article way back a year and a half ago now. I mean, no, maybe a year ago. And last December, it was like one of the biggest first articles in the debrief, talking about how this seems to be a problem underwater as well. Yeah. So I have full agreement with all of you. I think it is all of the above. And I kind of joke with someone that I think this increased focus on drones might ironically make us realize there's also something there that isn't drones, because these drones are an absolute issue. And I think Stephen Greenstreet is absolutely onto something. And I know he gets a lot of hate online, but I think that is
great. I think he's great because he keeps.
I'd love to have him on our show.
Me sane in some ways. He's sane a lot of the time, with his stuff. So we need more people like Greenstreet, in my opinion.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Stop canceling people for just being slightly different than ourselves.
Yeah. Right. And the more we get mad at people for asking questions, that's going to make other people who might be asking really good questions be like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. And walk away.
I mean, this is what makes us human. So at least while we still are, let's just
Right. Yeah.
let's just accept all that comes with being human, which is emotions and feelings and curiosity, and that wanting to learn and communicate with other people. Like we like to coexist with others, so let's do it in the right way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the trend that is kind of made itself present here multiple times today. Is just don't forget that, we're all just humans trying to figure this out. And I think we should lean into that part too, that we're online. I think it's easy sometimes to forget that there's another person on the other side of that keyboard, or and or even just sometimes even just direct messaging them make a difference. That stay curious and stay nice seems to be the motto for the day. And Kelly Lee Dodge, I thank you so much for the super chat as well. $6.99, I believe Canadian dollars is what it said. So yes, Kelly Dodge, thank you so much.
On earlier today.
Yeah, we're
really
a house on the weekend. We're going over to her house to have like
nice.
Yeah. We live like
little party,
an hour and 20 minutes from each other.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
It's opposite sides of the city. So yeah,
yes.
it'll be fun.
A play date.
Yeah. No kids. It's
yeah, there's no kids.
Right. An adult play date.
Well,
we don't still call them that? Oh, okay.
They do. They love her. My girls are obsessed with Kelly.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, geez, I don't know if you can hear that, but something's saying about a party on the roof. Well, we've hit our time, so I guess we'll just close out a few things. Is there I guess I know you have some episodes coming up. Why don't you mention them real quick, and also where we can find you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So on Friday we have Tom Matt coming on our show. He is the author of Jesus Goes to Hollywood, and it's more on the mental health side of things, but he is an experiencer as well, and he's written some articles for Medium.
He's written some articles for Medium, but his book is basically a rags to riches tale and then back again. So it goes. Had
it all and lost it all.
Yeah,
kind of his way out.
I've read some of his book, and it reads pretty much like a Martin Scorsese film would. So I'm really looking forward to talking to him on Friday, and then on Saturday we've got our third episode of Outer Realms, which we're looking forward to. And then that same day we're on Bottled Water Show as well.
Yes, right. I forgot about that. So we're on Bottled Water Show.
He's a fun guy.
We're gonna do it just before our show. So I think we're gonna go on 7 p.m. Eastern, do it for an hour, and then scoot on to our channel, and he'll come on as well.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So it'll be fun.
And that's awesome.
A different, sort of atmosphere on our show, and it's a weekend show, and
we've got more guests we're working on too, but we're just waiting for them to be confirmed. It's difficult around this time of year with Christmas and New Year and stuff like that. So,
and we'll have to have you on the show as well.
Yeah, of course. Sure. We need
you guys like.
Definitely.
No rush. I can be your backup, if someone falls through or something. Awesome, guys. And where do they just Google, I believe, Josh Artemis show, and they can find you, right?
That's
YouTube. It mostly everything is on Twitter it's at the _J&A show, and on Instagram it's at the Josh and Artemis show, and that's the same thing with our link tree.
Yeah,
beautiful. I'll get that link tree in the description.
We'll take it all in there.
It's all in the link tree, basically.
And greatly appreciate it if people do like and should subscribe to our channel.
Yes. Give them all the clicks, guys, and the bell. The bell reminds you. Easy to forget.
Yeah.
And Kelly Lee Dodge, once again, thank you for the super chat for $13.99 Canadian dollars. Is this just me, or does this guy look like Paul Rudd?
Yes,
a little bit.
Take it.
No,
I don't think Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd is like frozen in time, though.
I was literally going to make that joke. I said, I think I will look older than Paul Rudd before Paul Rudd looks older than Paul Rudd. So,
I don't
briefly.
know. His secret. Him and Cher. What's going on with her?
Yeah, they're vampires, just like Keanu Reeves.
Still.
Yeah.
Then give me her doctor.
Sure.
Because I've seen plastic surgery, and then I see Cher, and I don't get it. But anyway.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's what it is.
Next level technology.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
all right, guys.
Thank you so much for having us on the show.
Of course. Thanks for the great chat.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Good to hear, man. We'll have to have you guys come back.
Of course.
Definitely anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will take you out and we'll close it out, but I'll see you guys soon.
Okay. Sounds
Okay,
good.
done.
Bye,
All right. Have a
everybody.
good rest of your night, guys. Take care.
Okay.
All right. That's it. The time. What happened? Well, guys, thank you for watching another episode of Known Quantities. I had a great time, and I hope you did too. I think we touched upon some pretty, important stuff. It's fun to get in the nitty-gritty sometimes, but sometimes it's nice to talk just about how to talk about this stuff, maybe, and to remember that we're all people. So I guess the motto today, what was it? Be curious and be nice. I like that. Let's stick with that today. All right, guys, have a great rest of your week. Be safe. We'll see you next time. Oh, and also, before I forget, because I almost forgot, if you want to support this channel, make sure to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Daniel Miller. Thank you, Aaron, for turning back down the music. DOS Tapes is playing me off. Check out their Bandcamp below. And don't forget our UCR merch store and our podcast, guys. Make sure to rate and review. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.
Do what you wanna do.
I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
Thank you.